I hate smartphones. I think the smartphones are going to ruin the future and the earth. The last year I have started to hate phones more and more. When I was little, I never used my phone or iPad even if I had the chance. I stayed outside and played with my friends. Until one day when I started to notice that everyone around me started to use phone and iPads. And of course I started using them too. And after a while the phone started to replace my friends and family. I didn't think so much of it because the phone never bored me, and I could just lay in bed and scroll all day. It was all going great until one day when my dad said that my grandma died. Of course, I started to cry. And when someone near dies, you always starts to think about the things you could have done differently and the times when I could have gone visit her, but didn't. And I started to think about what was the reasons why I never visited or why I never called. It all came down to one thing, the phone. I started to think more about the times when I was too lazy to hang out with my friends and family because I was looking at my phone all the time, and it made me so lazy and cranky. I thought about all the times when I had opportunities to go on adventures with my dad, to go shopping and just walk around in the city with my mom, jumping on the trampoline with my brother and sister, but I was too lazy and tired to do it. And after I realized that the phone was the cause of all of this, I knew I wanted to change, but it was hard. When I tried to do something that didn't include my phone, I always ended up quitting and going back to my phone because it was too boring, or when I tried to draw, but I had no creativity because my imagination was ruined. I was miserable. I didn't know how to get out of this loophole in my life. One day I was looking at videos from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, and I was wondering how they could be so happy, creative, and socializing without having a phone, and that the people that lives now with phones could never be like that. But then I started to remember that the human wants to be like other human to be able to understand each other and have fun together. And that's when I realized that it only takes one person to stop having their phone and influence other people to not have theirs. I think everyone should be able to be their own person, find their own interests, be curious about things, and being able to figure things out on their own instead of using their phones as help. I think the world is to relying on the phone and electronics. For example, in my last school, we had a system where the teachers or parents could tick us off on a piece of paper with everybody's name on when we went home from school, and it was really good, but then they started to use an online ticking of program, and there was many of my friends' parents that didn't have a touchscreen cell phone at that time, and they weren't able to use the site. So the teachers started to wonder why they wasn't ticking their childs of when they picked them up, because otherwise the teachers wouldn't know if they left or not. The parents said that they didn't have a touchscreen cell phone, but the teachers didn't really care and told them to get one with touchscreen, but some of the parents couldn't really afford it, so they had to take loans just to buy a touchscreen phones. I think that is so crazy. Another example is when I was at a store for a few weeks ago, when there was an old lady in front of me trying to pay her groceries with cash, but the cashier told her that they didn't take cash, so she told the old lady how to put back all of her stuff. And I felt so bad for her. I really don't think it's fair that many stores just bans cash. Some people only have their money in cash, and that's making them almost impossible to buy something anywhere. My point is that smartphones are just bad in all different ways. Mentally and physically. It's ruining the world in so many different ways, and it's stopping people from being creative and doing things on their own. This is not the type of world I want to live in my whole life.